the mechanics. Some players are somewhere in between with preferring a little bit of each. I prefer a little context to my combat, but I still, especially in Pathfinder, it's so numbers focused that you kind of, to make a character, Pathfinder is really not the best system to run a strictly roleplay focused game in. There's some better ones for that.
I find that. Oh, sorry. I find that Pathfinder is kind of like a tabletop war game, even more so than 4E.
One thing I like about Pathfinder is that with all of the books, you can make whatever character you want, but that comes with a drawback.
Yeah, Pathfinder is definitely not user friendly. If you don't have someone to be there with you trying to guide you through the character creation process, then you're definitely going to have some troubles.
Well, unfortunately, I did not have anyone, so through trial and error, I had to actually look through about videos about this when I was in college.
Yeah, well, thankfully I had Dungeons and Dragons experience, so I kind of knew what I was doing. But for my first character, I went online and tried to find guides for Pathfinder classes. Like, I wanted to play a paladin, so there's a paladin guide. It's like, okay, well, if you want to make a paladin, this race is good for it. And, it's kind of like an optimization guide, but I recommend it for people who are first starting out.
It does, as I put out a video this week about optimization, and it really requires, if you want to play by the book in Pathfinder, it expects you to have an 18, like even if you look at the iconic characters for Pathfinder, they all have 17, 18 as their primary stat. They've devoted themselves, they've specialized. The role playing is fine, but you can't role play your way through a DC check. It's just gonna be there.
When the campaign I'm working on, I don't know if it's hero or a villain yet, but I actually specialize that person to be a very, very intelligent rogue. It's amazing how much feats and traits you can actually get just from the player advanced guide just for humans.
You can really customize your character a lot more. At least you can have to represent stuff. So it does leave out some of the things that I like about 5th edition, like that being more integral. It's tricky. That system is not friendly to under-optimized characters if you play it by the book.
Sorry, go ahead, Donald.
I really should pass the spotlight on to James. I'm bad at this.
Oh, no, I was just about to say, the thing that I like about 5th edition more than Pathfinder or any other D&D is the background system. I feel that adds a lot more to your character as well.
No reason Pathfinder can't have character backgrounds, but it's not a priority. It's something you might squeeze into another sheet on your own, as opposed to right there on the front of your character sheet.
Oh, well, yeah, like, I'm not talking about, like, character backstory, but, like, you can have the background of, like, soldier, and, you gain, like, 10 gold pieces, you gain these proficiencies and stuff like that. I don't know. I just feel like it helps players determine where they want to go with their character.
There's third-party stuff for that, but whenever I play a role-playing game, I always come up with a backup story, just probably because how I was raised in a D&D environment more. And I like to have content about everything.
Jeff, welcome, and
howdy.
How are we doing tonight?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Things are going well. We splurged and ordered Chinese food, which we have not done in a very long time, so that was nice.
It's the simple things in life that you have to enjoy.
I think that is one of the rules in the movie Zombie Land, or...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, how do you cut out a little bit there, Andrew?
Chinese food?
Oh, no, I think they're saying the same thing, except there's this character who's obsessed with Twinkies.
That's right. I enjoyed that movie. How's Arizona, Jeff?
What'd you say?
Wait, you're not. You're in Arizona? No, you're not in Arizona.
I am in Arizona.
Yeah, you are. That's
It's
what
cold here. Yeah, you left. I didn't.
I saw that. Some of my friends were posting their pictures. It had snowed or something.
Yeah, up in Flagstaff, but it always flows in Flagstaff.
Right.
I'm actually jealous of you, Jeff, or Jack. Where I'm from, it haven't snowed yet, except for one time, and it was just a bit of snow.
Where are you at?
I just live like it's 3 hours away, just from just from the American border.
Okay.
Yeah, so it really should be snowing, but it's not. Mother Nature must be mad about something that kind of did.
Oh, other fun, awesome Arizona news. I don't know if you have any friends still in the area, but across I-10, the borders have started to say aggressive driving is a path to the dark side. So that's splattered on all the highways now.
Good.
I wish it snowed here. Oh, I'm in Florida and it's 80 in freaking December. It's not fair.
I don't understand how people can enjoy warm.
I enjoy the warm weather, but it's warm weather 365 days of the year.
I enjoy cold, damp, gloomy weather more than the sunny weather.
I do too. I like the cold weather a lot more.
Speaking of cold weather and tabletop gaming, I finished the song just today. I was at the gym and wrote it, so I'm going to record it probably tomorrow and then send it to you sometime this week.
I haven't done anything about that. It was just kind of an off idea. But
You had said it, and I jumped on it because writing song parodies is like what I love to do. So I'm like, I can do this in 3 hours. I can kick this out. So you have a song waiting for you next week.
Awesome. I've got a couple others in my, let's see, and usually I miss the window on when a song is popular, and then I kind of don't act on it, but the Somebody I Used to Know, you know that song?
Somebody used to know.
TA, do, that one. Yeah, I wrote a song called Now I'm a druid who's true neutral or something like that. I'm just a druid who is true neutral, and he goes on about those kind of things. It's an engaging activity. Let me welcome Devin and Chris. Chris, I thought you were getting married. What are you doing on here?
Chris,
You're muted.
your mic muted.
No, I know my mic's muted. I'm not getting married till February.
That's
I don't know how you
off.
thought I was getting married.
Right.
Oh no, I understand how you thought I was getting married. No, I have a office party this Saturday. That's the reason why I'm not going to be at the game.
Gotcha.
Well, have fun. Don't embarrass yourself.
Damn office parties.
Office party stories are always interesting to see who is the fool at the end of the night.
Well, welcome everybody, and feel free to jump into any.
I think your mic is cutting out, Andrew.
Yeah,
Feel free to
it's muted.
jump in on any topics if we have. I have some, of course, but this is
Yeah.
kind of open forum for you guys to offer. You know, let's talk about something related to your games or to campaigns or whatnot. So I'll open the floor first before I suggest anything.
I have a question. I was looking up at a potential plotline for a campaign I am working on for a vampire being part of the campaign. I'm just thinking, how would you actually go about all of the vampire stats? Would you just give them right way, or would you add them as a progressive part of the game? Like, the vampire get stronger or powerful over time as they level up and feed.
I've seen it done as a series of feats. I can send you the document. But yeah, it's basically you gain your vampiric powers in lieu of the feats you gain leveling up.
Are you using 5e or Pathfinder?
This is Pathfinder.
Cool. Just curious because I was looking at all of the feats and stuff, and for a level 1 character, that is quite overpowered at that level.
Yeah, there's no way you could do a vampire at level 1. You could let them be Dampiers. That's a race in Pathfinder that is basically half vampires, and they gain a couple feats that make them more vampiric. So there's a way to. That's the other option to do.
You can just send me this document later.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if you can actually pull off full-blown vampires at level 1. I think at most, or at the very least, you'll have to be possibly level 5.
Yeah, what?
Although remember,
the CR for vampires is in the mid-teens. Yeah.
Remember though,
yeah, way too strong for level 1. Yeah. Full blown, that is.
overpowered and underpowered is all subjective. If you want to run a vampire game with everyone being vampires, then you can do that. You just have to give them adequate challenges.
And you don't necessarily have to start at level 1. If I was going to run Pathfinder as vampires, I probably wouldn't. Unless they were all apprentice vampires to a master vampire and he was sending them out on like missions. Or maybe they were turned on accident and hadn't fully made the change yet. It would need some explaining as to why as vampires they're so, kind of scrawny.
I mean, you might consider if vampires are what's interesting you, that there are systems called Vampire that use D10 systems.
Masquerade, yeah. It's not a very good system, in my humble opinion, but...
I think Masquerade is better than the new one.
Yeah, new WOD? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not... It's a really simple system. It's like as D&D is to... Or as 5e is to Pathfinder... NWOD is kind of the same to D&D, using different dice, but it's very, very simplified, down to just real base numbers.
Right. I personally don't like the D6 and D10 systems, solely on the base that both sides rolling the dice are so random. Like it doesn't seem like you have any control over anything except adding how many dice you roll. Meanwhile,
I like
D20 systems. There's a set number of die that you have to hit, and that never changes, or it does, but only when you level up or gain new armor.
I like Shadowrun 3rd Ed.
I think Shadowrun is probably the most tolerable of the systems, yeah. Oh, that could just be because I love the setting so much.
The Champions also has a sort of semi-neat way of handling combat with D6s. You roll 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's lots of systems and lots of ways to incorporate.
Your mic just keeps muted
again.
I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Asking like, what is your goal really with this game? And if it's storytelling and role playing, then why pick a system that's devoted to 75% of it's to combat? Why spend all that time building combat feats if you just want to be telling stories?
I don't think there's really a system out there that's solely for role-playing or solely for just combat or solely just for rolling the dice. I think all the systems do a pretty good job of combining all of them. Just some are more focused on another thing and some are focused on another thing,
There's actually one online game, I think it's called Judgment Guide, and it's about social skills only. So there is no combat involved. When you ever level up, put your point into social skills. Being a good host, talker, charmer. It's quite a fun game from what I've seen people playing it as a gentleman or as a lady during the Victorian era.
Advice that I've given for a while, just after having played, with a wide range of people over the years, is that the rules of every system are basically designed for bad players, and I don't mean that in an insulting way. Basically, all we are doing when we're role playing is we're playing pretend with people around the table, and if all of us could agree just on everything that happened, we wouldn't need rules to resolve conflicts at all. But the rules are there for not when people say, yes, that is something that we should do. It's for when they say, no, I would rather do this, or no, that is too difficult. They're set in place for conflicts. You know, of
Basically,
course.
it's to stop people from going, I hit you, no you didn't, yes I did, no you didn't.
Exactly. That is the basis of what all game systems are built on. Is everybody was playing nice, and eventually somebody said, "You hit me, no, you didn't," and they said, "All right, let's figure out how we can decide if you have hit me," and we've just grown from there.
It's the difference between playing a tabletop game and playing action figures.
Yes.
That behavior remind me of kids playing cop and robbers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And it
But in
would
the
be
end,
interesting to see
sorry.
if you put a bunch of adults around a table, how far they could get in a game of pretend without rules to guide them. Just as a sort of a thought experiment, I guess.
I would guess not
Those
very
are
far.
kind of fun. I've done that with an improv troupe. So you can just sort of improv acting is basically just role playing, and we've done a hour and a half long play, completely made up off the top of our head. So it's just playing pretend, and you just sort of yes and.
Yes,
So
and
nobody
not
disagrees.
nobody. Yep. I
Yes.
love that.
So as long as everyone just agrees to go with everything, you don't need rules because the answer is yes to everything.
Yeah.
Requires a certain mentality of we want to put together this fun, cool show together, which you may not always have that with someone who's instead, I'm here to be like, we're watching The Office again, and Michael Scott, if you've seen The Office, when he does improv, he's there to do exactly what he wants and be the star of the show, and he always wants to be his Detective Michael Scarn, who's got his gun and CIA agent and elite spy and all these things. Uh, Everyone hates playing with him, even in doing the improv with him, because he doesn't care about other people. He just wants to do his own thing. So really, that cooperation, I think, trumps some things. If you have like minds on board, you'll be able to accomplish a lot. If you have antagonistic people then who aren't gelling with the rest, that seems to be such an underappreciated skill: teamwork, cooperation.
Yeah, I feel like cooperation is definitely a lot easier to achieve with a group of people with like-minded personalities or who are there for the same goal. Just like how uh, Jack gave the example of, his improv group did the exact same thing. Well, they're all improv people, so they're all there with the same personalities and the same agenda. So obviously, one would expect they would get along together. But if you put a group together with people with different ideas and different things they want to do in the game, it's probably not going to go well.
A personal experience with drama groups and in life as well, I find having a few base rules is quite important to keep the flow of things, even with a group of like-minded people. But that is just my 2 cents.
Guidelines are helpful for anything, because it feels like sometimes some people assume that you should read their mind or understand what they want, and we haven't evolved that ability yet. We haven't learned how to just know what the other person wants and feels. We have to say
Maybe
it.
maybe one day we will have psychic powers to know what people are thinking of.
And hence the importance of a session 0. Please, for the love of God, if you have not had a session 0, please have a session 0.
I cannot emphasize enough. Session 0 and getting all the ground rules are quite important for any campaign, or else you will have problems down the road.
You might still have them anyway. So it doesn't save everything, especially when people aren't honest in session 0 and aren't forthright about what they really want and what they are looking for out of this game. But it does help so many things to to sit down and say, oh, I like this kind of game. I like this kind of game. I prefer this and this and this. To have that out there in the open doesn't mean everyone gets what they want, but at least you get a say. And then if you don't get what you want, at least you've advocated for yourself.
I've been playing a group of 5e on Fridays with just some people. I joined a group on Roll20, and we all know if we joined Roll20 before that that's sort of a crapshoot. And it actually turned out really well. I've had loads of fun playing with these people, and a few of us have really gotten together, sort of meshing our characters. I'm playing a paladin, one of them's playing a cleric, and we've had some light theological debates and respecting one another's religions and stuff like that. It's just been going, as far as I can tell, really greatly and really smoothly. So that's been a neat experience.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough in Roll20 to be a part of some great groups and to DM some really great groups. But yeah, I agree with you. Being in any sort of group where people just come together by chance or through signups, you really have to kind of pray that you get into a group that doesn't make you tear your hair out.
I am quite fortunate that my Friday game group, I am playing a Lawful Evil Rogue Wizard, and I'm actually quite glad that the party is fine with me being evil and going down that path within a certain limit before I take things too far. But I know the limit, so I'm not going to the far end.
Interestingly, I don't think there is actually anybody evil in our party. We have one or two neutral people, but I think the rest of us are all various elements of good, which is kind of rare these days. I haven't seen a lot of pure good/neutral parties in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in a group where everyone's good aligned, or even, good and neutral. There's always that one player who wants to play neutral evil or lawful evil.
No, me, I find I can play any lawful quite well. Neutral, I can play easily enough, but chaotic alignment, I have a problem because it's being me all of the time and being selfish. But that's probably the way how I was raised about chaotic alignments.
Well, I can understand chaotic and chaotic neutral. Those are some of my favorite alignments. But I honestly don't see chaotic evil working in any campaign that has even one other person in it. Because yeah, that me mentality definitely goes towards the chaotic evil and even chaotic neutral alignments.
Here's a thing we're talking about on the earlier with the EU chat. One of the guys was setting up an evil campaign, and it was just going to be 2 players. And one of the things we kind of came to the conclusion of was what a great opportunity, and why aren't more people doing this? If you're going to play an evil campaign, set your guys. Firstly, you have to have an overarching theme, sure, but why not make it even more integral? Make yourself brothers, sisters, cousins, all close-knit members. You were raised together, you're orphans together, or something. And that way, the neutral evil, the lawful evil, and the chaotic evil can all still be together, and they understand each other, and they understand, oh, that guy's he's a little nuts, but the chaotic evil gets reined in by the lawful one from time to time. The lawful understands the other guy needs to go off. Having that relationship will make those campaigns so much smoother than if you just set up 6 opposing people who don't have any good reason to be together. Even a campaign reason is not as strong as those relationship bindings. I like those a lot.
Am I the only one who had this vision in their head, Bonnie and Clyde, just now?
Yes.
I'm gonna write that down for an idea for an evil campaign.
That would be a neat idea, yeah.
A funny thing is that in Fallout 3 New Vegas there is a Bonnie and Clyde reference in the game there.
That'd be cool to run for a couple.
Yeah.
Actually run a Bonnie and Clyde campaign for some. That would be neat.
So who's volunteering to run Rachel and I through this? Devin, is that you?
I might. I'll have to think about it. It wouldn't be any time within the next 2 or 3 weeks because we got all this holiday stuff coming up, but I will give it some serious thought.
Oh, good. That way I can call my wife Toots. Usually don't get away with that.
It would be interesting to see that.
Two lovers on the run from the law and from the society that doesn't want them to be together.
There are a couple things I've wanted to run lately. I want to run that sort of Bloodborne inspired thing I mentioned a while back. I want to run a modern mixture of magic and such, like what are they called?
Gate.
Kind of, yeah, or like an urban horror maybe, but a little more openly horror instead of everything being hidden away from the general public.
If you want to play something modern that still uses magic, I'm thinking of the later Final Fantasy games. I think 7 Plus, where guns were introduced. So you still have the classic sword mixed with the gun. If you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I think if you want to do something like that, though, Fate might be your better choice for our system. I think it handles that a lot better, just within its rules.
Well, there are some D&D supplements too for like modern clerics and stuff like that,
True, true.
which might make. I just like the smoothness of 5e a lot of the time, and how easy it is to pick up and progress.
Just glue some gears on it and call it steampunk.
Let me pop in a second. Welcome, Jared, to our chat. Good evening, sir. Glad you can join us.
Yep. Sorry I'm a little late.
No, it's not a problem. Here, I'm. Before we jump on to another subject, I want to let you guys in on a little secret. Something that I've been working on that I'll be doing tomorrow morning, and I'm very excited for our Witch Hunter campaign, is I've taken one of my favorite adventures. I've converted it to 5th edition. So eventually maybe I'll put it out there for other people to do when I fine tune a little bit. But we will be going through the Sunless Citadel 5th edition version for the Witch Hunter, and I think it'll be quite a good time.
Nice. Did you ever fix the other campaign that got corrupted?
No, I haven't been able to get that video working, and it's a real shame because that was a really great session. A lot of interesting kind of gaming things happened, interesting role-playing and character things happened. I didn't miss out introducing, so my character Fuzz made a cameo there, and so that was fun. And then there's 2 more characters that I think will be really enjoyable to interact with. Only people who watch Saturday Night Live in the 80s will get the reference, I think, the late 80s. But that should be recorded properly, I really hope. That was a real bummer. I still have the file. I've tried it multiple times, and I just can't get it to work. I think overall the shift to Hangouts, or less Hangouts and then more to Skype and hosting it on my own screen is better for the viewer overall because I can cut out certain stuff that I can't in a Hangout. But does have the downside that when it blue screens on me, then it's all lost. I don't have a backup.
Yeah, that's definitely a very unfortunate drawback.
That's something I'm excited about for gaming. I'm also excited that on Thursday night I get to play my Paladin again in a home game / Pathfinder Society. So we play it not at the store but at someone's house with a group that I've kind of meshed really well with, and I've played him for about 5 levels, I think, mostly with this same group of guys. And so that's really a lot of fun, and I'm excited for that, even though my Paladin seems to trivialize some things, and I don't like that exactly. Even though we have 3 players usually, we still obliterate high-tier content. So either something's too easy, or I made him too good, or something like that. But eager for more playing opportunities. That's what I'm excited about.
Andrew, I actually have the same issue. Me and my party, we actually can handle CR 3 plus our current level quite easy. our party is at level 3, but we can kill 2 level 6 creatures easily enough, which is quite funny because we are supposing not to be able to handle those yet.
What is your? How many people are in your party?
It is 4. We are mostly uh, uh, range and a melee character. So just through the buffing and these spells that the cleric and wizard cast, we can take down level 6 creatures easily enough if we get them separated.
Controlling the battlefield is what makes the most powerful version of a wizard.
The one fight we had, we were in a mine in a mines, and the tunnels were pretty small, and we actually closed off a couple of entrances, so it was more like 4 versus 1 until we killed the other one off.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, there's a lot of tweaking that can happen in home games to make that possible, and such that your DM can say, oh, if they're trivializing these things, then I can bump it up even more, or put, oh, that wasn't just one of them, there's another wave of them coming out, or there's lava bubbling up. But that's how I like to play on the fly. But then there's, in society play, you got to follow the book exactly. So there's no, once you figure out the winning strategy there, you're just good.
And are they going to introduce some home stuff into this, or is it still strictly society despite the being at the house?
Yeah, if you're going to carry the character to any conventions or anything else, you have to follow their guidelines pretty strictly. And I was excited about 5th edition's version of that, the Adventurers League, until I went there and it really wasn't good or well organized. So a little disappointed with that. But maybe hopeful we'll get something else going, and that got so many campaigns that I'm running, but maybe the opportunity to get as a player is trickier.
I think it'd be cool if, I guess you can't do this because, like you said, it has to be stuck to the books, but to create a sort of death knight with its own party of people behind it. Not like a mirror version of yours, but, you know, that sort of system, something vaguely comparable in strength that could come up against you now and again and have opposing goals.
Anti-paladin?
Yeah, I call them death knights.
I think in one of the books for Paizo, there was a Death Knight class, but I could be wrong.
Said what it was.
Oh, anti-paladin, or if you go by D&D, it's Blackguard.
Yeah, anti-paladin is a class in Pathfinder.
One of the things I was hopeful for is that there's, in society, you get to level 12 and then you stop. Then there's kind of this big arc that you can do through level 12 and then you're officially retired. I think they do that because at level 13 in Pathfinder, you get Limited Wish and Miracle, which trivialize everything. So I think that's probably why they stopped there. But it would be interesting to take those characters that were played in society and then run a home game starting at level 13 or something. That could be very exciting. Alternatively, and this is something I'd hoped to do online, and I don't want to DM it, but I might end up having to, is to get a group together of really good gamers and play through the Pathfinder Society modules from the very beginning, Season 0, then Season 1, with the same group of adventurers, such that you fill in what Society experience lacks, which is character development and role-playing, and we allow for a little more of that while still sticking to, and I think the world of Galarian is fantastic. It's a really great world that is kind of underused. So that'd be something that I have a little dream about of getting that same group of heroes going from level 1 to level 12 and then retiring them, and then their offspring get together in different classes. Going through sequence by sequence sounds a lot of fun to me.
That would make not only for good gameplay, but also a really great series. Being able to see for that extended period of time the development of the players and the characters together.
And how connected are the series? So from episode 0 to 20-something, is that one long story, or do they jump around?
They jump around, certainly, but there are different story arcs within it. So it's kind of like a TV series where you might have a main plot happening, but some episodes you advance the main plot, and other episodes you just take those same characters that you like, and then you put them in this different situation.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how it plays out. But there are themes to each season, like Year of the Snake or Year of the whatever, Year of the Demon, where a lot of the missions are themed in a particular direction.
Fuzz and Friends, the next generation.
We're still doing that. I'm excited that I have a character that went from 1 to 11 now, and I've never had that. You know, it's weird. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about gaming all the time, but I've never taken a character from low level to high level. I just end up being the DM so much that hasn't happened. But now I have that hands-on experience with it. I'm very excited, and good to have Devin joining us too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Anyway, if you're going to be running the Pathfinder modules, it probably would be best to continue with the same idea with the beginner's table.
What do you mean?
For the 5th edition beginner's table, for Patreons, I cannot speak right today, but patrons on the channel, you could actually begin with that for anyone that is new. So you can run the Pathfinder modules for them when you get enough people.
But that's a thought. The Pathfinder Society is not designed for new players exactly. Some of them are really... Pathfinder is a system. While the beginner's box is fantastic, way better than the starter set for 5e in introducing people to the game, the system itself is not very beginner friendly, at least to handle in a one shot with new players, where 5e is much simpler and easier to go about doing that. But one of the things I did have going was the Wonder Workers tie-in, where each beginner's table had them going to get a silver box, and that ended up turning into the big campaign. And that's something I still might incorporate, is that they're contributing to something else. I always felt that was what's lacking in so many one-shots, was it's disconnected from anything. It's just, I play this, my character doesn't advance, I just get this little bit of time to role play, and then it's gone. Where I would much rather take a character and really get into the nitty-gritty with them.
You do have an active world and an active timeline. You could certainly have things that happen in one-shots have long-lasting effects for the campaigns you're running, similar to what you're referring to. Like if, say, the one-shot is to go in and blow up a dam, then, you know, if they succeed, then the party that needed to go through the town below that dam now has a lake to cross.
Absolutely right. That's something that I've been implementing with the mini sessions of the Bedrag Man and Man Alone. They made a choice that has totally changed that entire city, and anybody in the other campaigns visiting that will see their result, their outcome. And also in the one-shots that happen in the Fallen Depths, those have an impact on future adventurers going into the Fallen Depths, as well as any game set in that city of the Ikaris city will have those rumors going around, or those adventurers can show up and talk to them about what they found out. Like in the X Chronicles game that we played, there was a guy who had reportedly gone down into the Fallen Depths and come back out, and that's another tie-in. I like those so much, especially having a channel to coordinate it and feel so much more involved than just a single thing here or there. But there can be fun that happens, certainly.
Do you plan on bringing Jub back? Because that was fun to watch with those three people choosing to side with him. So if those folks come back, I want to watch that episode again, because that was really interesting and did not expect that to go the way that it did.
Yeah, that was definitely unexpected and really enjoyable to... Because usually one-shots are... You got to be a little more streamlined, and you don't know who you're going to play with, so you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out overall. But that one was exciting. Got to play like a genie, basically, who now has heroes who are working for him. Like, they came to loot. And one of the players just kept insisting on that was his role, which kind of diminished his involvement in the game. But otherwise, yeah, phenomenal experience, I'd say.
I
You'll
didn't
see more of it, yeah.
see all of that one. I saw most of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, in the end, he makes them an offer to come and work for him, and he's in the plane of air, and he wants to expand. And three of these players, which I think in a one shot you should go for the gusto and try and leave a mark or something really a great impression in your experience, since you only maybe have that one window. And they made such an impression that I don't know if I can get those same players together again. That's tricky sometimes, but at least their concept or their idea can show up. They're off wandering the plains, serving as mercenaries for an air genie or a water genie. That's where he's from, not air.
Not many people can put that on their job description.
One of my favorite character backgrounds I always enjoy playing would be playing as a soldier for hire. It would be interesting to see a one-on-one campaign, especially if someone is playing as a Black Hand mercenary.
I think my favorite of the one-shots that have been put up so far is actually another of the Deeps ones, where they meet the Storm Giant.
Mm-hmm.
That had a really nice
That's my
player
favorite.
ensemble. Yeah, you were in that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you guys did a really good job as a sort of a slapped together team. I was really impressed with that. That was nice work.
Oh, thank you. Everybody did everything so well. I think just everyone had the role, and we sort of meshed, and it was like, I talked about that improv group that I had before, when everyone is okay and knows the other people, we just sort of just gelled really quick, that it turned out fantastic. And I think, God, I'm horrible with names, so who was the guy who played the rogue with his little accent?
That was
So
Alan.
Alan, the banter he and I had, and it seemed like we had such a backstory that we didn't have, that we just made up on the spot, was just so much fun to do.
I did enjoy that, definitely.
Well, another thing about one-shots is that they can also be starting off points. You know, you just plan for it to be a one-night thing, a once-off type event. But if things go well and you get ideas, you know, you can follow up on that and have sequels, and not have to worry about having a sustained campaign, but simply do it in little bursts and segments.
What I tend to find works a lot is if you don't know what you want your campaign to be about and you plan to run a campaign, run the first 3 sessions as sort of one-shots to try and not only get your players up to level 3, or if you can, get them to level 3, and then after that, story generally just forms on itself. It's a lot easier than trying to sit down and plot out a long campaign without having the first session or first 3 sessions.
Do you have any more of those 3 shots planned for the future anytime soon?
Yeah, not planned on paper, but I'm never opposed to the idea of it. It really just comes together as far as scheduling. I think I'd have to find another event in the world or another place where we can have something significant come together, like what happens in Bedrag, in that choosing, will the city continue to be run, will the party support the oppressors, the tyrants, who, since it's a city of scum and villainy, actually have a good role to play in keeping order, or will they side with the religious, the divine magic users who are being oppressed, But by helping them, you put the Pirate King in charge. So it was a really tough choice and had long-lasting ramifications for the world in future games. So I think I basically have been setting everything in this world, and I like that a lot. And so I'd like to do another 3 shots. Probably not until maybe January or February. This month's no good for a lot of things, but yeah, I'm open to that definitely.
I have a question for the group as a whole. If you could set up playing or running a one-on-one campaign, what would you choose? And we'll start with you, Andrew, as either a player or a DM.
What can you clarify the question a little more? Like which one would we like to do?
Yeah, what if you could design or play in a one-on-one campaign, just you and the DM? What is what you would either like to play or DM, whichever if you would rather play one or DM one, and what would it be?
Well, I am running 2 right now, so I would want to play in something so to have a little change. Uh, I there's actually so many. It almost feels easier, other than adjusting CR and stuff. It's easier to design plots and stories with a single protagonist because that's what so many of stories in our culture are about. I think I would be very interested. There's certain classes that lend themselves really well to one shots. Classes that don't get to do their thing quite so much with a party. One of those would be like a rogue, and infiltration missions, assassination, thieving, those kind of things would be really well designed for a one-on-one game. I think a wizard can do also very well. It's a little more challenging, but it also they're studying, they're building their magic. And then lastly, I think if I had to choose right now, I'd run or play in a 5th edition one-on-one campaign. I would be a paladin, and we would go on crusade, and that's what I would do.
I have the same class idea as you, but a different story idea. What about you, Jack?
I'm muted. Actually, I was thinking about this a lot because I'm actually getting a promotion at the end of the year, so I'm like, saving up for maybe I'll go into like one of the one shot or the one-on-one games. I want to see if we can work something with like a favored soul, or make sort of, because I saw they sort of have a tweak for that now. Because I like 5th edition, but they don't have all the classes I like, and I want somebody who's a normal guy who's like, the gods don't speak to me. I'm just a banker. I'm just a farmer. Those are for the clerics and for the paladins. So I want an everyday man on like a holy mission was something that I had in mind.
You want the life of Brian.
What about you, Chris?
Couple ideas. Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney type thing, where it's a lot of investigation and dissecting of mysteries and stuff, where it's so slow that you can't possibly do it with a huge party. You have to do it one-on-one. But from a more practical perspective, take a high-level character and throw them in what would be for a full party of low-level characters. I think that would be cool, having someone who's a badass taking on a quest rather than having people who have to work together. There's always something interesting about the lone gunman, the lone wolf type thing.
And between Donald and what is the other guy?
Jared.
Jared. And well, there's one other guy here too, isn't there?
Yeah, that's me.
What's your name?
I'm James.
James. What about you, James?
Well, at the moment I'm running 3 games and I don't have a chance to play in any of them, unfortunately. So I'd probably opt to be a player. I've had a lot of ideas for characters and just sketching them down, but never being able to see the light of day. But as far as a story, I like the stories where a person is trying to save himself from damnation, trying to redeem himself, or perhaps he lost his soul to a devil, now he's trying to get it back, and the entire campaign is just the process of him trying to get it back, trying to redeem himself. So that would probably fall on the lines of a paladin or possibly even a witch hunter, or I guess they're called blood hunters now.
Nice. What about you, Donald?
Oh, I am muted. One shots, I would generally try to find a very good book and stick to certain themes. There's one book which I do like to listen to. It's called Heart of Darkness, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it's about a person traveling the rivers, I think in South America somewhere, to see a friend, but through their journey, just like the redemption thing, have the character point of view changes from, let's say, being a very bright thinker to probably a doom and gloom person at the end, maybe. But it's up to the person in the one shots.
Is that a Dean Koontz book?
It's a
Yeah.
Joseph Conrad, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, Joseph Conrad, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think it's Africa.
That's the one that was adapted into Apocalypse Now, or?
I'm thinking of something else. What about you, Jared? What would your one-on-one be?
I mean, obviously player, because not very much experience DMing, so it probably wouldn't be that fun for the guy on the other end. So, kind of that soul champion of the deities type.
So like what is that? There's a movie. The guy, he has to kill Medusa, and then he goes back, and there's like a giant squid attacking the town.
Oh, you're thinking Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, like a Clash of the Titans type thing.
Kind of, but like low levels, your deity's trying to train you, I guess, and then after that you like start taking on other champions of different deities. So you never actually have to fight a god because that would be a little out there, but kind of expanding the reaches of your god through like one-on-one duels would be fun.
This is just the idea, but if you remember the movie Hercules, you could do something like that. The classic tale of him going through the 12.
Which Hercules movie?
The Disney one.
Yeah, a Disney one. Him going through all of the trials and being the hero at the end. That's a good one.
Beat your enemy to death with a fish.
There we go.
Because that's satisfying.
Yeah, fishes are quite the useful weapon. My one favorite weapon, which I do love in Fallout 3, it is the rolling pin.
Well, here's my pitch, and this is something I've given a decent amount of thought to, because I've thought about running it and I've thought about playing in it, and I would prefer to play in it. And this is not exactly an original concept, but I want to play a paladin who is high level, like 12 to 16, and I'm not really interested in leveling him higher, so probably 16, who has captured an evil sword and attuned to it in 5e, and doesn't draw it because if he draws it, there's a chance it'll take over his mind. And basically, he's wandering ruins alone, and the sort of NPC that he talks with most often is this evil sword because it's sentient. And so the whole premise of the adventure is him wandering these long abandoned ruins and meeting up with orcs there and other adventuring parties who are coming in searching for artifacts and stuff like that, and him trying to figure out a way to destroy this sword that he has.
Oh man, if the sword can have the voice of the Joker, that'd be amazing.
That would be awesome.
If you want to find a way to actually get rid of the sword, I'm just thinking of the Lord of the Rings, how the book ended with Frodo throwing the ring into the mountain fire.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Well, no, he didn't. He actually tackled Gollum, who was holding the ring, who fell in. Yeah. But the difference here is they knew how to destroy the ring from the start, and this character is wandering the ruins because he's trying to figure out how to destroy it. He doesn't know how. because artifacts can only be destroyed in their own special ways.
That's interesting, having the party, as it were, interacting with the big bad evil guy constantly. That could be an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Now, along with that, if I may pose my own question for the group, I have 2 campaigns going on, both in the same world, both going on at the same time, and the climax is about to come about. Both of the parties are actually going to be on opposing sides of the army, and I was thinking for the climax of both campaigns, both parties were going to go ahead and fight each other. I was just wondering how you guys would go ahead and handle that, how combat would go. Would you have soldiers from each of the armies join the parties, or would you just rather have it party or player versus player, or whatever you would have it?
Are the people in each party of similar skill levels with the mechanics of the game?
Yeah, they're both veterans of, well, they've been playing 5th edition with me since the very beginning. The party compositions are all around 15th level.
I would say that it's possible you could have them do a fight, but a cooler way would be to put each of them at the head of a section of the army and have the armies fight. And then have like an end scene where they all come together and they face off, and then they can decide whether or not they want to finish it personally in like a grudge match or not.
I'd see it along those lines with the kind of Trojan War approach. Now I'm forgetting the name of the book, before the Odyssey, Iliad, where the battle's all raging around, but then it kind of zooms in and all the soldiers kind of stop fighting and they watch these 2 big heroes clash in the middle of the great battle. So you still have that feel of big battles going on. But at 15th level, don't some of them kind of trivialize an army? Can't they just rain down destruction and kill hundreds of regular soldiers at a time?
I suppose that is true, though. A lot of them sort of do have an honor system of, fair combat. I feel like a lot of them wouldn't just rain down holy or, unholy fire upon the enemy army. Plus, they would see that, each of the armies have quote unquote generals of equal strength, so they would probably save their more powerful stuff for them.
Well,
Would
plus,
pair
you're
up.
Yeah, how many characters are in each party?
One party has, I believe both of them have 4, depending if all the players can show up. The one is more magically oriented than the other.
Top, mid lane, lower, and jungler. Just play a game of League of Legends with them and have the armies.
It might be a neat experience to have duels happen between kind of the 2 party leaders, the 2 party whatevers, each in a different role, have a 1-on-1 fight or a 2-on-2, and neither of them kill the other. They have this code, like you're saying, and then by the end of it, they all kind of get a taste, because I don't know if they've encountered each other yet before this. That would be good, so they at least have an idea of what they might face. Either have them have these small skirmishes and then one big party fight with everyone rested and rejuvenated, or maybe even have them come together in the beginning, not against each other, but maybe they have a conversation. Can we stop this from happening, this war? And maybe yes, maybe no, but give them kind of that choice too, so that they feel we're making a really significant decision here.
The other thing would be to just do a super burly brawl and just have all the mooks just stand around and watch the heroes and villains fight 1-on-1 ish,
Well, the thing with having all the mooks standing around, as Andrew said, as fire starts to rain down, the mooks are gonna start dying.
Well, I assume that the reason armies just aren't automatically obliterated is it's assumed that there are wizards on both sides doing kind of counterspell stuff.
This is true.
But yeah, what I think would be cool is to give each person head of, like I said, like a section of the army, and then if you want to do duels, have each section of an army attack another section of the army, and then go down in like dual initiatives, like we did on our last Pathfinder or Typhon. So you have this person versus this person, and they do their stuff, and then go to the next two people, and it just keeps going. And at the end of each round, you give an update paralleling the battles, the duels of how the war itself is going, or the battle itself is going, rather.
The main problem I have is I am starting to lean towards that system of play, and then at the very end, have all the players meet and have one final kind of fight, whether it is 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 or however we decide to do it, is trying to keep the flow of combat consistent and keep it fast. Like, I don't want to. I'd prefer not to spend one turn between two opposing armies for 10 minutes because it seems like it would take that long.
Maybe. But, like, I mean, say it was me and you paired off, and we both did our attacks against each other, and then it switched to Jack and Andrew, and they did their attacks against each other. So on down the line. Then you update the progress of the armies at the end of the round, then do it again, and when somebody beats their opponent, they can choose, without healing themselves, to go and help one of their allies to try and, team up on them, etc., etc.
Oh, okay. I get what you're talking. I get where you're coming from now. Okay. Yeah, that seems like a better idea.
One advice I can give in the Typhon duel, one thing that I actually implemented was knowing your order. It is very important that that you actually know what you are going to be doing whenever it get to be your turn. So you don't have to wait a minute or more for the person to make up their mind.
Yeah, we talked about that, and being ready for your turn, that helps a lot. And then, like Devin's saying, alternating such that players don't feel left out for a long period of time. That works well to keep them engaged and keep them still interested and excited. I would weave in descriptions if there is a big battle raging around them. Don't let them, because 5th edition is a little more smooth and your turns don't take quite so long as, say, Pathfinder, but you can still lose the mental image of what's going on unless you have either a grid or some visual there, or you just describe it. After these two combatants go, you give 10 angels fly overhead and clash against the demons, and ballistas firing arrows. Death is all around you. Bill, your turn. Kind of, and Jenny, you're on deck. Keeping that flow and the energy and the tension, I feel, really makes for good fights. And you need the players to be engaged, not just ready for their turn. But if you've in one of the gladiator sessions Devin and I did, we tried to make it more interesting than just the mechanics that we were doing. So I'd encourage the players to throw in taunts, describe their abilities, and try and vary up the descriptions so that the mind movie is playing out in a really engaging way, really memorable way. That to me would be a long-lasting impression, something I would take from this campaign of, wow, it was such a great session because we were so engaged with each other.
Yeah, I feel like keeping the imagery is a lot harder to do in theater of the mind type games, especially when it's in real life, when you're doing theater of the mind and you don't have any sort of pictures to show your players as you can in, say, Google Hangouts or Roll20 or anything like that.
It is so much easier for me. Imagine watching movies for a large chunk of your life without being able to see the pictures and just having to fill that all out in your head. You get really good at it. It's just like, I bet somebody just got punched in the face. I don't know, but I bet they did.
Isn't that called radio?
Yeah, more or less. That
to me is kind of one of the milestones or the standards I set describe well enough that if someone is like you're on a radio drama, to such an extent that the picture is very clear and you're not leaving out big gaps of information, which takes a lot of skill to be able to be succinct in your description, but also provide enough, not too much so you go on for a long time, not too little so they're left wondering what's happening. To really hit that sweet spot can be very, very challenging, but well worth it if you can pull it off. Very good. Great discussions here. Good topics so far. About 20 more minutes that I can devote here. So anything else on our minds that we'd like a topic to tackle?
So
Question?
one thing I was talking with Andrew about last week was the idea of building a campaign around a class rather than an objective. To theme it on, like, say, the witch class's ability to form a coven with each other. And just wanted to bounce that off of some other people as well.
One
A single party class, single party campaign.
one single player campaign that would go quite well and probably easy enough would be the samurai class, and play them as a ronin, going off doing their adventure.
Not single player, single class.
Oh, single class.
A party of one, so say 4 clerics or 4 dragon disciples or 4 witches or something.
I'm thinking some fighter classes would be easy enough, especially if they're a mercenary company, maybe. But samurais, if you watch The Seven Samurai, it's an old movie based on American Western design. It's them defending a town against bandits.
Samurais.
Yeah. Something like that would actually be a good class campaign if you go along with that path.
And this is Pathfinder?
Yeah, normally I do Pathfinder simply because I still find it way more robust than 5e.
What are the guys that are on the horses? That are on the mounts?
Cavaliers.
Yeah, Cavaliers would be good. Gunslingers, also a good choice. Especially if you did like a siege gunner, you could work as a siege team and be, like Donald suggested, part of a mercenary group and be the guys in charge of like taking down the walls and protecting your gun. Fighters, you could be infantry or, however you design your fighters, because that's a fairly varying class. You could all be rangers and be bounty hunters with different specialties. There are a lot of ways to handle that are actually pretty neat. I would not be adverse to seeing an all-party or an all-class party do something.
To add on to his idea, one comic book series which I do like to read, it's called Suicide Squad. If you can actually get a good class that can have a lot of variant between them, what they're good at, I'm just thinking rogue right now. That would suit them quite well. You could have one who is a good tracker, assassin, saboteur, something like that. That would work well for a rogue class.
I'd agree that Pathfinder right now would be the one that could pull this off more readily, given the greater amount of resources available for it. It's not impossible to do in 5e, not. You would just, instead of
We're losing you again.
You just go with different archetypes, and that gives some diversity.
That would be easy to do with fighters or paladins even. A group of just wholly light paladins in 5e would be devastating.
Fighters rogues have a lot of architect types that are quite good. You should have a look into all of them. I think Archive and Nessus have all the architect types. Do you need the link for that site or
I
no?
don't need any links.
But yeah, I think you could do it with just about any party, and you would have to tailor the adventure to what they're good at. You wouldn't send, 4 fighters into a arcane labyrinth and expect them to come out all right from that.
Or you would have to challenge that they'd have to be maybe spend some time gathering other resources to make that available for the most part. But it's kind of similar to planning a campaign for one person, because the theme ends up being that character's their identity and their kind of influence in the world. And then if the group is all of the similar identity, personalities will change, but their communal identity is the same. You can have them really plan it like, okay, well, they're going to go have these very specific missions that they wouldn't do other things otherwise, right?
And I was just sitting here thinking that 5e is actually pretty flexible, at least in fighters' regard. You could have Battlemaster as your leader, 2 champions, one that went more ranged, one that went more melee, and then a Eldritch Knight. And you'd have a really solid, really tough group. Not a lot of healing, though, unless your ranged guy took the healer feat and he could use medkits a little. It's doable.
I think so, yeah. And well, there's actually in the works another archetype. That's what I've been developing. This document's getting bigger and bigger, but I don't feel like I can get it out without having a lot to offer. A new archetype for every class, and there's a new fighter one that should be pretty good in offering yet another more versatile approach. So I'm eager to share those. I'm not going to share it here. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but as those things get further developed, which may not happen from Wizards, I get their general idea is to, and I have a link to an article I read, that Wizards' focus for 5th edition are stories and adventure paths, much more than more classes and more races and those kind of things.
I read that same article. It made me worried a little bit because you do need some variety, but it will also help against like 3.5's bloat. 3.5 had a lot of bloat.
And you can feel like you don't have to, well, I have to get this next book that's coming out in order to stay current with all the classes. You don't have to do that if all the books that they're releasing are story-based for the most part, and even the classes, like the archetypes they include in the Sword Coast Legends, the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide, are really just for that setting for the most part. So that on one hand, that feels good, kind of a little liberating. On the other hand, you kind of don't want to rely on homebrew completely, because that can go awry in the wrong hands.
Do you keep up with the Unearthed Arcana?
No, I have downloaded a few of them and taken a look at it, but I don't consider them the gospel at the moment. Some of them are okay. Some of them,
That's about my thoughts too. I didn't like the thing they did with the Ranger. That was just weird. But I did like the Submariner fighting style for fighters. That was kind of neat.
Something else that I found that I'm doing in the homebrew document is there's, and maybe a video, I have this all written down, but there's a lot of useless feats and really bad feats that they've come up with just to kind of fill the pages, I think. One of them that's really horrible that I've changed is Weapon Master. It gives you proficiency in 4 weapons. Why would anyone ever take that over an ability or some other thing? So I've changed that to be you gain like a fighting style kind of a thing, which is much more interesting than you can now use these things, which 90% of the classes can use anyway.
I would do that and maybe a proficiency in one weapon, just in case, like a warlock or something. Not a warlock. Warlock's a bad example. Uh, sorcerer wanted to be like a long sword specialist or something weird like that. I think is what it was intended for, but it is a very bad feat. Charger's another one that's bad. That should just be in the rules. That shouldn't be a feat. It basically, unlocks charge attacks for moving 10 feet and then hitting somebody.
Agreed. I have a nice long list of good feats and bad ones, and there's more bad ones than good, for sure. It's kind of like different people, and I've seen this in Pathfinder actually. So maybe it's not a 5e thing, but there's some abilities, some class things that it's clear. Like if you look when they have to come up with a bunch of things like alchemist discoveries, there are some that no one will ever take ever, no matter what. They're just so niche or so simplified or just not good overall that you can just tell they were just kind of filling the pages, it seems.
Fluff and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the last thing you want is to have useless feats or have a class that you force them to take something that is useless to them.
And then you look at heavy weapon master and go, why does not every barbarian have this feat?
Yep. That should never. That's bad game design, in my opinion. If there's ever an obvious choice or a best choice, you've done something wrong. There should always be, this is best for this single approach that I'm making. This is best if you go this route, not flatly best. It's like if there's a race that gives +5 to all stats and gives you 2 feats. Everyone would take it always. I mean, there's no reason you would play something else other than if you didn't want to kind of just gimp yourself a little bit. So there's some things to tweak.
Luckily, I like a lot of 5e's races, except for I don't like their Assimer, or how do you Azamar?
Azamar.
Yeah, I pronounced that way wrong. It feels underwhelming to me, which is a shame because I really like that race thematically. But it just doesn't feel like it works with what they're trying to make it do. It doesn't make a great paladin, and it doesn't make a great cleric. Yeah, it's just kind of mediocre at both.
Are you using the base Azamar or using variant Azamar?
Is there a variant? Where's the variant at?
I believe it's called in a supplement called Blood of Angels.
He's talking about 5e Azamar, not Pathfinder.
Oh, 5e.
Oh, yeah. 5e, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
5e Azamar is really underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 5e they just give them a lot of spells instead of actual racial abilities, so it makes it feel underwhelming.
Yeah, and
That's
their
what I
stat
think about it.
boosts. They get charisma, which is good. That's perfect for a paladin. But they don't give strength, which isn't, and they give 1 wisdom, which 1 wisdom and 2 charisma aren't the stats that you want for a cleric. So it's just kind of meh.
They're paralleling their counterpart, the tiefling, as far as, and I did this yesterday in our race building. In the world building session, I decided let's make a custom 5e race, and I tried to break down what does every race have? How do you make a new race? How many points do you get? Kind of a thing, because 5e doesn't have it. It's supposed to have it in the DMG. Those are no guidelines at all. No. So I've kind of put some new ones. We made this new monkey race sort of guys, and it was kind of unraveling the formula for a race. It seems like the developers value spells and spell-like abilities very highly, because if you look at the Dragonborn, they have breath weapon, resistance to that element, and nothing else.
Yeah, well, they get the 1 strength and 2 charisma, but no dark vision or anything.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, well, everything gets that same +3 pretty much.
Which is crazy, because if you look at half-elves, look how good half-elves are.
Oh,
That is
half-elves
crazy.
are amazing.
Half-elves and
Yeah.
dwarves are amazing in 5e.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing to decipher what everything is worth as far as, because it looks like every race gets a resistance or an advantage on a saving throw. They get one or the other. They all get a kind of a flavor ability for the most parts, and then either they get a bunch of proficiencies like dwarves do, or they get some spells like tieflings and Azamars do. So I don't know that it actually ends up being equivalent or not. I don't think so.
The ones that tieflings get work really well with what tieflings do, because they're made to be warlocks or sorcerers, and their spells are, kind of aggressive and warlock/sorcery. But Azamars get, like light and daylight, I think, or something like that, and then they get stats that would make a decent sorcerer. And they're supposed to be holy warriors.
Daylight is game breaking, though. By the way, it with Underdark. With
It's like against Underdark, but otherwise you usually will not use daylight. I think Underdark is the one niche case. Underdark and Dispelling Darkness are about the only 2 times it ever comes up, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
I haven't kept up well with the 5e stuff. Am I mistaken to say that the Asmar race was used as an example of how to build a race?
That is exactly what it was. Yeah.
It was
And
not
it's a bad
actually.
example.
It was not actually a race in and of itself. It was a race. This is how you use the race building tools to build a race.
Yeah, well, they did give you the completed product, but it just, like I said, no, I guess, I think they give another couple examples that are also used pretty prevalently, the Fey elf things, Eldergar or whatever.
Yeah,
Eladrin, that's what they're.
Yeah, they don't. I feel they don't do a good job of providing the guidelines for race building, and they left Azamars out of the main book only to have them as the example for there. Because why would you include? I guess they did in 4th edition, but why tieflings and not Azamars? Maybe more players like tieflings and like playing the demons, devils, evil things.
Yeah, more
than the other guys.
Like that.
I definitely think people enjoy playing the evil races more. That's probably why.
Maybe that's why I'm seeing so many evil aligned people these days.
I don't know. I really don't like Azamar, and I like playing Tiefling, but I like playing more good aligned characters. I don't know. It just feels it's like you're breaking away from the thing that you're supposed to be evil, but you're good. Screw what the rules say.
I actually enjoy playing neutral or evil characters.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think my favorite Pathfinder race is actually orcs. I was so close to playing a full orc instead of the human that I picked for Typhon.
My favorite race still, it is human. If you build them right, they can be good at anything.
Yeah, humans are a bit mechanically too perfect in this sense, since they can fill any niche and they can fill it as well or better than many races that are designed around that niche.
I find playing at a Tengu, they are specialized in certain areas only, so they're
Are we
not.
still talking about 5e, or are we talking about Pathfinder?
I'm talking about Pathfinder. In 5e, humans are good at everything, but they don't beat the niche races at what they do. Luckily,
they don't beat half elves as being good at everything either.
Yeah, half elves are better, except for that one feat. If you do the variant human, that's still quite powerful.
Well, if you're any kind of character that could use charisma, you might as well take.
In what universe do you not go variant human with 5e?
I was playing a game where we were not allowed to go variant human, and we had to pick these other sub-races of human that the DM had made, and it actually turned out kind of fun, but that's the only time that I have seen standard human used.
They're okay if you have a class, which very few do, that rely on 3 attributes more than 2. Then you can, if you use the standard array, bump up 2 of your stats and then have 1 ready when you get to level 4. But yeah, I think most of the time you're going to pick it only if you don't have the choice.
The only class that I can think of that will use 2 or 3 of the main stats, it would be a paladin. Determine what build you make with it.
And then half elf is better because you get the +2 charisma. And then you get 1 to 2 other stats on top of that, and the skill buffs.
And 2 skill proficiencies.
And immunity to sleep. And dark vision.
Yeah.
It just keeps piling on.
I don't know. It's crazy. Elves are probably the best race in the player's handbook.
I really like, what are they, mountain dwarves? They get the +2 to strength and con.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any short race. I don't know why. Kind of racist, I guess. I just do not like gnomes, halflings, dwarfs. It upsets me with the slow move speed, I think.
The good thing in Pathfinder, the short races, gnomes, halfling, goblins, or anything like that, if you're making a rogue build, they are quite good for that. Because they get a +1 AC and a +4 stealth. While I was playtesting a goblin, with the traits on top of the goblin at level 1, I managed to get its stealth to be 20. But then again, I dumped everything and put it into Dex.
One of the aspects I like best about 5th edition is that you actually can't do that, really.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of, and I've spoken about this before, the idea of like giving yourself room to grow. If you start off with an odd numbered stat, how exciting is level 4 when you can bump that up and change so many abilities because of it? And then not starting off with all 18s or 20s. I get people sending me emails. I rolled this character. Firstly, they make characters independent of any campaigns or DMs, and they expect to be able to use them. And I tell them, no, I mean, have fun making characters, but don't expect to just be able to use them. And then second, right, I got an 18, an 18, a 16, a 15, a 14, and a 16. And what kind of character should I make? I'm like, you're half god. Like, you don't. What do you? Your stats are insane. No one's going to believe you. And where's the room to grow with that guy? That's just absurd.
That is boring. At least if you go with 16, with the standard array in 5th edition, you have room to grow.
I have rolled an amazing character once. It was Bartimaeus, my paladin that fought Tiamat, and I rolled 18, 16, 16, 13, 13, 10 as his stats. And that's the best I've ever rolled, bar none. I've never gotten 2 18s before.
Well, if you got a character that's multi-attribute dependent, like, say, a monk class, where he has to basically have good stats in everything in order to be mechanically competitive with any other class, that doesn't seem like an overpowered character. That seems like the normal that you need in order to want to do that and be competitive.
5e has cleaned up monks a lot. They are a lot easier to make now.
Yeah,
no longer rely on strength at all.
I'm thinking of Pathfinder 3.75, but then they still have that need a good in a lot of different stats. Still need that good intelligence, still need that good wisdom, you still need that good charisma, and you need the good constitution, and you need the good dexterity. Strength is the only thing that has really been regulated to a dump stat.
Nothing in intelligence but wizards. It's upsetting. Intelligence is like one of my favorite stats, and they got rid of so much in 5e.
History, religion, investigation. A lot of DMs don't use enough investigation in 5e. They just
Yeah.
default to perception.
My only issue with Pathfinder and how the intelligence system work is that you can easily get at least potentially up to 4 more skill points per a level for your character, which in the long term can break a character if you know how to optimize the character in the game.
Go back to what Chris was saying. It's actually kind of interesting. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to go back to editing this. But I did a review and kind of my impressions on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons from 1978 and that system compared to today. And there are, in fact, minimums for certain classes. In order to be a paladin, you have to have a 17 charisma or you cannot be a paladin. And since attributes had to be generated by rolling, if you wanted to play a paladin and your DM was kind of strict, if you didn't roll high enough, you couldn't be it. You couldn't be a ranger without many prerequisites, monks without prerequisites. Even the main classes, if your strength or dexterity wasn't high enough, you couldn't be a fighter or a rogue. So I think that is not so far gone that there are situations where you have to meet those minimums in order to be effective. Though I will say, given the idea of a dump stat or that kind of thing, it should be a good DM is going to throw out a variety of challenges. They're going to have spells that you're going to make in 3 sessions. I say that's kind of my range. By the end of 3 sessions, every skill check should have been rolled. Every hit points, armor class, saving throw should have been attacked at least once. Because if you just focus on just armor class, just hit points, you barely have to make saves, or it's just dex saves. It really skews the power of certain classes and certain focuses to such that if you don't, like if you decide to play a bard or someone who's not invested in those few things that the DM thinks about, you're kind of wasting your time or severely limiting yourself. So things being strong or not strong depends entirely on the challenges that the DM throws at you, and hopefully they throw in a variety.
A question. In the rulebook that you're reading, does it actually say you can roll the numbers and then just pick the numbers for the stats?
The main attribute generation for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is 46. Drop the lowest 6 times. Arrange how you like. That's the main rolling method.
So it's something like a 5th edition in a way.
Yeah. The rolling methods are there. It doesn't have a standard array, and it doesn't have point buy that I saw anyway. Just a bunch of different rolling methods.
I can kind of see what they were going for, though. They wanted, if you managed to roll high enough to play a paladin, maybe the thought was that would be a rare and sort of cherished experience. Which is neat in its own way, but not entirely, it doesn't entirely work, I guess. Not long term, anyway.
5e still sort of says that you have to have minimums when you multi-class.
Yeah.
You have to meet minimum for both the class you're already in and the class you want to multi-class into. So, in a way, I think that's still around in a way, but they don't want to pigeonhole players too much in their initial what they want to play, I guess.
So one other thing about that, the AD&D system, that to me is just extremely absurd, and I don't know why they did it, and I'm glad they got rid of it. It might feel like a small thing, but I think it's really actually significant of a philosophy and an attitude. The stats are your abilities are divided between male and female, so males and females get different attributes, and you think, oh well, maybe males are stronger and females are physically weaker, but the females are also have greater constitution or something. Nope. Women in AD&D are just flatly worse than men.
-2 strength.
Yeah, there's just there's no benefit to being it. You don't get an advantage on anything to trade off for that. And I thought, you not want women to play this game? Like, why would you create them inherently worse with no inherent benefits? I thought that was just so strange.
It is very strange. I could almost see if they would have done something weird like -2 strength, +2 charisma, and then snickered about it. But to just have a flat, -2 on something.
I did snicker.
The designer thought it would be funny about that to make everyone play males, not female characters.
So I gotta close down here, but let me give you guys let you guys decide what video is going to come out tomorrow, or actually it might be even later tonight. I have queued up the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons review. That is available. I also have 3 items every Pathfinder Society character should have. 3 awesome Paladin items, custom 5e race, and I have one other thing that I can't find. But which of those sounds good to start?
I like the 5e race.
That's a good question. Either the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons review or the 3 items every Pathfinder Society character should have. Those both sound interesting enough that I want to know what they are now. I can't wait.
We'll get to all of them, but
yeah, we'll get to all of them eventually. Yeah, they're all interesting enough that I want to see those videos, but if you ask me which one I would click on first, it would either be the review or the items.
Other opinions?
I think the 5e race would be cool.
It's just the 3 of us now.
Oh, okay. It's not actually very streamlined. It's much more stream of consciousness as I'm talking on a live stream in making the race. But so it's a little longer, and people don't click on longer videos quite as often. But I'm still going to release it, and maybe I'll release a more streamlined version later on. Okay. I do have that one's done. All of them are done except the AD&D video. The rest of them are all just sitting there ready to upload when I want them to.
Has the latest episode of Fuzz and Friends been released yet?
It is on the channel. It has not been made public yet, but it will be. It's getting used to kind of the delay between, since I'm not releasing them live because we're not doing live hangouts. There's a kind of going to be a gap, which allows me to edit a little more, but also is now I have to time the release. But I guess it'll be okay. Yeah, that'll be coming out tomorrow. And then there's the Typhon one came out. I'm trying to space them so I don't have like 8 videos a day, which people don't like apparently. They're not able to just ignore a Let's Play video, or they like see it and they get angry or something like that.
Yeah, the entitlement of the internet.
Yeah. But besides that, we'll be okay.
This Let's Play has triggered me.
I hate that phrase so much.
I'm going to complain.
Oh, I hate the word triggered.
On the internet.
You're entitled to never be offended and always get what you want. If anyone tries to give you anything that you don't want, you are free to mock them and ridicule them and chastise them because they made you feel bad because you didn't get what you wanted.
It's gotten to the point where hearing that something triggered somebody else triggers me. The ultimate irony.
Awesome. Well, I enjoyed our chat, guys, and the other guys dropped off. That's fine. We will have another chat again, and I will see you two on Saturday. Fuzz in the morning and Typhon in the evening.
Well, not me.
Not you.
Not me.
You'll be at the party.
Yeah, good luck to them.
We got this. And take it easy, guys.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.